What's up there, Fangs and Infernos? We are coming at you from a little bit of a different facet. You may remember this guy from a different location. You might remember that guy from a particular, possibly different opportunity of a said conversation. But more importantly than that, it's about this guy right here. Myself, the Vampire, and of course Devil are very, very stoked to have a friend of ours in Mr. Steve Brown rejoining us
guys?
for some more conversation.
I haven't seen you in like over a month,
I
maybe.
know, you don't call. You're doing right.
Honeymoon's
You
over.
didn't get that cake I sent you?
I mean, I got the explicit photo you might have sent, but that one lives rent-free in the phone for others to may or may not know whether or not they might exist.
Right.
But as always, my friend, thank you for a little bit of your time.
Of course, man.
It's
Great to
always
see
great
you. Here
to
we
see
are,
you.
New Jersey Horror Con.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, aren't these guys scary? They're scaring the hell out of me.
Oh, it's all right. Is his hair standing up?
That's
Like,
it. It's, it's a good hair day.
Exactly.
Good hair day.
So, I mean, New Jersey HorrorCon, stomping ground, of course, for you when it comes to just, New Jersey in general, the whole New York area.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's a little bit
Yeah.
of familiarity when it comes to this area. But it's kind of a different, vibe for you as well. Of course, when it comes to, music, different events like that, playing live and all of those kind of events, something that's geared a little bit more towards a different, clientele, a little slightly different fan base. But again, rock and roll knows no bounds. But how has it been? How's this weekend been so far for you?
It's been a lot of fun, man. I started doing the, what do we call it, the convention circuit. I started last month doing the Chiller Theater and just having a blast, man. This is my second official one. I'm really excited, enjoying it, and I got a couple more booked for the rest of the year. I'm doing one big one in Vegas, but I'm not announced yet, so shh.
It could be anywhere.
It's been fun, and selling there are a lot of Kiss fans here today because Peter Criss is upstairs.
Yeah.
Peter Criss on the drums.
Yeah, we've come across that Joey guy you may or may not
Oh yeah,
know.
Joey.
Joey.
Joey
Might-
Quesada's
might
here.
know.
But
Speculation.
Lita Ford was over here.
Yeah.
So, but this is, look, as we get older, this is another way, as I've always talked about, being a professional musician, you have to have multiple streams of income. You have to have the octopus tentacles out everywhere. So this is another way that I get to go sign some autographs, sell some records, sell some guitars maybe.
Yeah.
And it's saves the voice because I don't have to sing. Well, at least I don't know if I have to sing yet.
Yeah.
Depending if the mood strikes you.
Yeah.
Who knows? They might be like, Steve, we need one more thing from
That's
you. It's
right.
Because it is karaoke tonight.
Karaoke, that's right. Ow!
So when it comes to an event like this, of course, like you said, having the octopus tentacles out there, and of course, everybody's a music fan, everybody's welcome, and everybody's a fan in general.
Yeah.
When you do have something like Chiller Theater or New Jersey Horror Con that is geared a little bit more to a different genre of entertainment outside of music.
Yeah.
How do you look at something like that? Are you, open to all opportunities when it comes to that? Are you a horror guy yourself?
Well, I'm not, honestly, no. I sort of am a horror guy. I'm a big fan of the classics, of course. Grew up in the 70s and 80s. So I remember the first movie that really, when I was a kid, that scared the bejesus out of me was Carrie.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing just the commercial alone, the thing when the blood gets splattered, and I finally saw the movie. It was scary as hell.
That ending just scares the shit out of you with the hand.
And the original, the original Halloween, the original Friday the 13th. All stuff like that. And of course, my favorite movie, I wouldn't really call it a horror movie, but it's pretty scary. Jaws.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah.
original Jaws.
Oh, that's Mrs. Vamp's jam.
yeah,
there. Halloween and Jaws. Those are her franchises.
Yeah, so, but what I think, of course, my connection with Kiss for the last 40 years of being, such a huge Kiss fan, I've made no secret that between Kiss and Van Halen, those are the two biggest influences. There would probably be no Trickster without those two bands. So Kiss has always been, I think no matter what you do and no matter what convention, there's always room for Kiss. So the fact that, my involvement with Ace on his last record on 10,000 volts, I think it works. And I think, look, at the end of the day, music is always the common denominator that brings everybody together.
Even in the genre, those movies have scores. They've got music, so there's always an involvement
and
there.
Trickster, we're sort of in the HorrorCon thing because we're in the video game history, because Line of Fire, our song off the first record, was in the White Knuckle Scoring soundtrack. That was the Nintendo record, right? Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
We were in that movie. So we're, I guess, I guess you could say that's kind of horror, scary as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. Devil?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. With all the endeavors you've done musically, have you ever got the opportunity to, or been asked to do a score, or put on a song on the soundtrack, or things like that?
Yeah, we've been on a couple soundtracks. Back in the day, we were on that great Richard Grieco movie, If Looks Could Kill.
Yeah.
We were in that. But, I'm always looking, and more importantly, forget about making music. I want to be an actor in one of these movies. A couple of my friends have made some, smaller movies. My good friend made this indie film, which did pretty well, a film called Rub. That's on, I think it's on Tubi. It was on Amazon Prime. And I told him, I said, dude, you got to get me a role. I want to be like the scary, something completely different. But I love it, man. A couple of my friends, guys, Guy and Tony and Manny from the Wizards of Winter, they just put out a movie that I forget the name of it. But they make an indie film, so I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the call to be in. I'd love to be in a horror movie, man. Chris Jericho and
Terrifier and all that kind of stuff like
Absolutely.
that.
Would you want to survive? Would you want to be killed? Or are you indifferent to the choice?
It really doesn't matter. Whatever's going to make for a great movie, I'm all for it. You chop my head off, whatever you want to do.
Nice.
Yeah, because I always laughed about it with the movies and stuff like that. We're huge. Even at the con right now, we got Edward Furlong, who was in a movie called Brain Scan, and the guy that was in that was called the Trickster. And every time I always named it, I was like, Trickster. I'm like, he was more like CK, the Trickster. But I'm like, hey man, that's getting close to being the trickster that we all love.
Yes. Especially those older movies too. They love their old school like 80s rock style. I mean, Trick or Treat, Brain Scan, so many of those movies. Fastway did that whole soundtrack for the Trick or Treat movie back in the day.
That's right.
So like there's so much just common ground when it comes to that, for sure. And one of the things that's also kind of cool that Devil and I didn't really talk to you when it came to the M3 conversation that we had, but we got SBS that we can also talk a little bit about as well.
My SBS guitar brand. Here we are, kids.
Talk about
tell your parents that's what you want for
to
Christmas.
talk about.
Yeah, and this is we've been in business since summer of 2023, so we're coming up on our third year now. We've sold over 2,000 guitars worldwide. They are the greatest rock guitar under $1,000 that you can buy, and it's a dream come true, of mine to have these guitars. Very much in Van Halen inspired 80s shred machine, and love it.
Absolutely, for sure. And when it comes to like how somebody like yourself that likes to stay, of course, very just, so many things going on, whether it be musically, appearances, and always just having your hand in so many different cookie jars. How do you find works best for you to avoid any kind of like a burnout? Because, you understand the game of like different kind of income and just how to just live your life for yourself, your family, and everything in between. But how do you look at what events or performances or anything in between works best for you, or anything that might kind of like slow you down or wear you out?
Well, I think the most important key to what I do, which is work all the time. I'm a workaholic. But the key of it all is I love what I do, and you could see that.
Definitely.
Whether it's playing on stage, being here, I love being around people. I love the sound of my voice. Whether I'm singing Trickster, whether I'm singing Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, or stuff I did with Ace. But that's the truth of the matter, is that I love what I do. So, for me, and, I've talked about this before, I'm 7 years sober. So since all that time now, 7 years, I have gotten, in my mind, I've gotten clearer. I'm in the best shape of my life, mentally and physically. And I think as a performer, as a guitar player, as a singer, everything that I do, I'm just better at it. And I just love it. So, and I've said this before again, I tell PJ all the time, as we're in our 50s, I'm going to be 56. Don't tell anybody. Thank God for hair dye. I'm going to be 56 July 13th. And I say it all the time. The first 50 years were just the warm-up. Now is when the best stuff is going to happen. And I truly believe that. And it really, at the end of the day, it's all about the love of rock and roll and the love of this life.
Absolutely. And we've spoken before about your long-standing singing history that,
Yeah.
a lot of people, of course, know Pete with Trickster in the history, but you yourself are by no means a rookie when it comes to vocal abilities. But being that you are sober now for such an extended period of time, have you found that that has helped your singing ability, considering it's already got a pretty good stamina to it from just doing it for so long?
Yeah.
But did that go up in any way that you
Of course
found?
it did. Well, of course it does. I mean, there's no way that I could perform and sing, because with Trickster we do all the songs in the original keys. I'm singing One in a Million and the original keys, all the songs. And then now with Always Jovi, the Bon Jovi tribute band, same thing. We're doing all those songs in the original keys, and that is some serious vocal stuff. So, I mean, I'd like to think that I could probably do it if I was still partying, but that's not even a thought in my life. Now it's just, again, I thank God that I'm still alive, and like I said before, I truly believe I'm better than I've ever been, and that's what means the world to me. And I think, of course, it plays because of the physicality of it. And fitting into these skin tight pants, man, it's a lot of work.
Absolutely. And before I kick it over to Devil and let him take it away, when it comes to the Always Jovi stuff, or anybody who's unfamiliar with the band may know about it but hasn't seen you live, is there a particular era that you focus on, or do you and your bandmates cover the gamut of Bon Jovi's history? Because there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, there is. I mean, of course, we are more focused on the classics, the 80s, and, we pretty much we take the whole career, but we end it on the Have a Nice Day album, where that song and
I love that song.
Who Says You Can't Come Home. That's pretty much it, because from there, we're focusing on, for me, and I think for most of the Bon Jovi fans, it's the heyday that and for me, as far as vocally, those are the songs that I fell in love with. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again till the day I die. Bon Jovi was always one of my biggest influences and inspirations, being Jersey guys. And Pete and I were at, the first time we saw Bon Jovi was 1985 when they opened up for Rat, the Invasion of Your Privacy tour, at the Meadowlands Arena right up the road here. And seeing them, that was the first time that we actually, Pete and I remember nudging them while we're watching them, and they were getting their gold records, and I'm going, we're going to do this. We're next. Skid Row came next, but then we were right after them. So, seeing Bon Jovi and being that, the hometown guys and the Jersey guys, it made it that much more attainable. Like I said, if they can do it, we're going to do it. And sure enough, we did.
Absolutely.
With the help of John, of course, because he was one of the, he was the first real rock star to get behind Trickster back in 1986, and he helped us out.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, Richie Sambora and Phil X as well. I mean, no shortage of amazing guitar riffs and players when it comes to that.
So great. So happy for Phil. And, we miss Richie. I wish he would come out of the woodwork and start rocking again. But, neither here nor there.
Of course, for sure.
Speaking of people that we miss and stuff like that, obviously we talked about working on the Ace Frehley album. And unfortunately we've lost just recently lost Ace. Talk about a fun story of maybe at a time when you were making the album that you just remember, that just makes you want to smile, that makes you just want to laugh about the experience you had with Ace, working with Ace.
Well, I mean, every time we worked together, whether it was at his studio or my studio, there was never a shortage of jokes. It was always comedy, and I think that's something that goes hand in hand with rock and roll. That's why we're all friends with so many comedians. But, in particular, again, it was every time we worked together was a great experience, in the sense of, for me, it was that pinch me moment where I'm working with my hero, but then I got to go, wait a second, I got to pull this together. And, and Ace was such a great guy. I don't know if you ever met him, but he would always make you feel like, you were his friend for 50 years. It was that comfortable, and we had that relationship. And the coolest thing, I think, is that at both of our ages, but Ace especially at 71, 72 years old, when we would get going creatively, working on a new song, to see his enthusiasm, it was infectious. And it was like, man, this guy is still, we're making we're writing great songs, making a great record. And we were very aware every time we would make a new song, it was like, yeah, this is really awesome. And then especially when we play it for other people, or we would, send the songs to the record company, and they'd be like, guys, this is incredible. This is better than the last song. I remember when, the first song we did was Walking on the Moon. We sent it to the record company. They're like, we want this. This is the best thing he's done in, Lord knows how long. Then we sent him Fighting for Life. And they were like, this is even better. And then we sent them 10,000 volts. This is even better. It just kept. And so that was, again, I can't sum up one moment, because the whole experience, and from the bottom of my heart, I say this, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. And I know Ace felt that way too, because the response to 10,000 volts has just been overwhelming. And still to this day, song 10,000 volts is the only song out of Ace's catalog over the last 25 years that's in the Spotify top 10.
Yeah.
So that speaks volumes about what the fans think about it. And he gained a whole new fan base with getting on social media and really embracing that and becoming somewhat of a social media star, because besides being such a rock star and the legend and the icon that Ace was, he was a character.
Yeah.
And so that was what was so great about him. And that's what I told him about social media. I said, dude, you got to get on TikTok. You got to get on, make videos and let people see you. And sure enough, it worked. And, and he loved it. So, but we all miss him every day.
Absolutely. And then, with all the people that you have worked with and stuff like that, barring, obviously people who are no longer with us, is there anybody that you have on a Mount Rushmore of somebody that you would want to work with in the future, like someone you would like to, collaborate or write a song with or do a song with that you haven't had a chance to?
There are so many. I still, I'm still hopeful that I get to work with the Def Leppard guys in a real capacity of maybe, producing a record with them, but they have their own thing. I would love to work with Bon Jovi, with John, and write some songs with him and really try to get the sound back to the heyday. But there's so many. I just, again, right now, I'm working on Lorraine Lewis, the new Femme Fatale record. We're just about done with that, which is the record is coming out so good, and I think we have a tentative September release date. Nice. But
she just did the song with Blacklist Union as well. That's been doing very well.
Love it. And the Johnny June and Johnny Cash song. I'm going. What's the song? I'm going to Jackson.
I'm going to Jackson.
Jackson. So good. Love you, Lorraine. But look, I love to work with everybody. I was working last year with a country artist, Corey Marks, who I wrote some songs with, and hopefully he's got a new record deal coming up and a new record, so hopefully we get to work with them. I've been working with another band out of Nashville called Hippies and Cowboys, and so again, this goes back to the love of music. And this is just what I do, creating all the time, whether it's making videos, whether it's social media, writing songs for the new Trickster record, or whether it's going to be for somebody else. It's like breathing for me. It's what I have to do every day, to survive. So I'm blessed that, I love it. And having my own studio enables me to work whenever I want, how long I want. And, again, that was always the dream, and that was the success of Trickster enabled me to buy a house and build a recording studio in my house. And it was all about being able to have, like Ed and Al Van Halen had 5150. I wanted to have my own place where I could make music whenever I wanted and be able to engineer and produce to get that sound, because I was never really that happy with working with other people. I would ask engineers, hey man, why can't you get my guitar to sound like this? Oh, and they give me a million reasons. And then when I became my own engineer and learned how to make records for myself, I learned that there are no rules. You know, don't tell me you can't put all this EQ on a snare drum to make it sound like Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
I would fucking, like Eddie Van Halen always told me, and I think this was common knowledge. He said, as long as it sounds good, it is good.
Yeah.
No matter how you get there. And that's the truth.
Absolutely.
And especially in rock and roll, there are no rules.
Yeah, I mean, even like being a guitarist and stuff like that, where you see like you're supposed to play this way or that way, and then you got bands like Korn when they started playing like the drop D bass. People are like, you're not supposed to go that low, and like, well, who the hell says we can't go that low? It sounds good. It sounds good. Why not go that low?
It was a unique sound, and still to this day. And look what they did. I love Korn.
Yeah,
it's such a great band and groundbreakers. They completely started a whole new sound. And the 7-string guitars. I never really got into that personally. But
now you see guys with 8 strings and stuff like that nowadays. It's like, geez.
Baritone.
Yeah.
But again, it's just inspiring, and let's see. I'm hoping that something happens in rock and roll that's going to be the new sound or whatever. But the good news is, if rock and roll music never evolves from where we are now, we are a part of, and like my band Trickster being a part of the 80s, that's one of the greatest gifts in the world, because in my opinion, it's the greatest music ever made.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, it's just throughout the whole music anyway. I mean, I love like the 80s. I mean, not only did you have amazing rock bands, but whether or not you like the pop scene, that was just blowing up in the 80s too, with Madonna, Michael Jackson,
Duran
catchy
and
songs,
all that
a
kind of
catchy
stuff.
song.
And that's really the core of it. At the end of the day, whether it was MJ, whether it was Duran Duran, I loved all that stuff. Adam and the Ants, the Outfield. I love Big Country. And one thing, even at an early age, what I recognized the most was great songwriting. And that's where you can dress it up any way. You could put on a drum machine, you could put on those 80s guitars and the synth, but then if you did it acoustically, a lot of those songs, they'd still be great songs. Hungry Like the Wolf, if you play it on acoustic guitar, still a great song. And that's how I wrote all the original Trickster songs on the first record.
Oh yeah, I mean even that like the Def Leppard thing that just came out, when they did all those songs with like the orchestras. I was like, those songs sound amazing in a different tone.
Reimagine, they're still, and that's the true test. How you can tell something is a great song, where you could do it anyway. You do a bluegrass version. You do a country version, still a great song.
Absolutely, for sure. And Devil and I have talked to you in other aspects with our respective side projects of either TMS or Empire Extreme, but for our beloved Fangs and Infernos, of course, there is talk of upcoming Trickster music, and also a documentary about you and PJ's upbringing and life in Trickster. And so we would love for you to take a moment to let our fans know a little bit of what you can tell them about those two situations.
Well, and again, I've made no secret about this. We've had probably about 15 or 16 songs, 75% done for the last almost a year now. And it's just, life is busy, and I'm blessed, PJ's blessed, that we have very busy careers outside of Trickster, and that we do all these multiple things. So, it's 24 hours a day is not enough for somebody like me. I need a lot more to get stuff done. But the good news is, the material is phenomenal. I just played I played you guys one of the new songs. Killer. Sometimes Hell Gives You Heaven is one of the songs that I'm really stoked about. And hopefully we're going to finish that soon. But, again, there's no rush on it. Hopefully we can do it, have it out for next year, and it will coincide with the release of our documentary that we're doing, 1 in a Million, which is not a Trickster documentary. Yes, there's a lot of Trickster stuff in there, but it's the story about me and PJ, of our 38-year plus friendship, brotherhood, friendship, our musical partnership, and playing together, and our lives changing as teenagers into adults, and all the things we do outside of being in Trickster. But the core of it is, and the one thing that glues us all together, is always coming back home to Trickster. So it's a story because we're journeyman musicians, with PJ playing with Lita Ford and playing with Fozzy
Yeah.
and all the other things that, Rubik's Cube and our cover band, Sugar Belly in the 90s, Soaked, Throwing Rocks, the story of all this music that we've made, still a lot of it unreleased, sadly. Don't hate me. I'm trying to get it all done. But
for an amazing box set.
Yeah, it's true, man. Or just one release,
Yeah.
But we've had this incredible journey together, and and the truth of the matter with that is as well, we still have the best time playing together.
Yeah.
And we'll be back together in 2 weeks out in Minnesota, so don't you worry. But it's been such an incredible journey, and now more than ever, we have a film crew. My friend Alex Castino, who worked at MTV and VH1 for 30 years, he's directing the documentary. He just did the Wolfgang Van Halen behind the music. So it's really taken shape, and it's again, it's a human story, but there's going to be, don't worry, fans, there's going to be a ton of unseen Trickster footage, stuff from back in the day and new stuff, and some comedy stuff, but at the end of the day, always, we're just still having the best time, and we're so blessed that we get to do this.
Absolutely, and we're just as blessed getting to talk to you, Steve.
Yeah,
of
yes,
course.
you
And
are.
Devil, anything final from yourself, my friend?
He has blessed us with his presence.
Yep.
Upside down
Bless
cross style. For this show, maybe an upside down cross style.
We're just gonna let everybody know too. He wrote 95% of the script.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Funny joke. I did. I told you what to say.
No, absolutely.
Don't believe the clickbait and everything you see on the internet, because there's not a lot of fact checking going on. And these guys are legit, and they tell the truth.
No, 100%.
That's what means the most to me.
No, absolutely, and a fun little question to seal it all up with. Who would you side with if you had to make the choice, a devil or a vampire?
Ooh, I think a vampire.
Good
I think
man.
That's a little more Christian.
Steve, we appreciate
Thank
you
you guys.
so much,
Yeah.
man. Absolutely. Thanks, Infernos. Thank you guys so much.
Your blood.
We've got so much more going on for New Jersey HorrorCon, but again, we want to always appreciate
Thanks for
you guys.
having me.
Thank you so much. He's the devil. I'm vampire. More importantly, this is Steve Brown.
Rock and roll. Thanks, guys.
Horns up. Fangs out.